Sorry. Thank you all. I think we're transitioning to the next session right now. And I'm going to say welcome to the Musical Flow of STEM session. This is the last day for it. It was rescheduled from last week. We're excited that you all have joined with us today. Of course, again, I am Dr. Venicia Farrell, and I'm a research associate with the Center for Educational Partnerships here at ODU. And we have Ms. Brandy Wright, who's going to be your instructor again today. I know you're all excited about that, and we're excited to hear what you've done today. And we also have Dr. Mia Jo with us, who is going to kind of give you an overview and an introduction again. And I will say the last thing is I'm going to put in the chat for you that if you have any questions, the Q&A tab will be open. Please put them there, and there you can we can answer your questions either live or we can answer them through text. So.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. And I'm going to be extremely quick because I know that Ms. Brandy is going to play you some really interesting beats and mixes. Welcome to this last and final session for Make Beats Learn Code. And it's also the last and final session for the Brooks Crossing Innovation Lab Musical Flow of STEM. So welcome, and I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Brandy, who has over 20-some years worth of technology experience and is a middle school teacher. Ms. Brandy.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to see you guys. Thank goodness it's Friday, right? What a great day to end on the Musical Flow of STEM, right into the weekend, right in the middle of the summer. Hopefully it's not too hot where you are. It's been really nice here in Virginia, but do want to share a few things with you guys. First of all, thank you for those that came back and those of you that were very diligent in coming back for each session and being flexible, even when there was some issues and we kind of had to reschedule. So just kudos to those of you that came back on a Friday afternoon just to see what we had to say about the Musical Flow of STEM and about beat making. So I'm going to share my screen with a couple of things with you guys today. First, I do want to review some of the great things that you learned throughout this entire experience of just learning how to make your own beats and learn code. This is definitely in partnership with the Your Voices Power curriculum, which came from Amazon Future Engineers, as well as EarSketch, which was from the Georgia Institute of Technology. And they got together with a local Hampton Roads artist, Pharrell Williams, to create this experience students how to code their own music. So it was very exciting. You guys learned a lot, even about, hold on, let's take a look. You guys learned how to code, right? Looking at it just like a line dance. You guys went through and logged into EarSketch, and you learned the different genres of music. And then once you created your account, you learned how to create your own script. And I'm going to share quite a few student scripts today, as well as this is what your digital notebook looks like. And for those of you, we are definitely going to share this resource to you so that you'll have this for your own reference. Have your own engineering design notebook. Even if you're not even interested in engineering, guess what? This reference is really going to be great for you because it has all the videos, it has all of the instructions, it has all of the lessons about how to code, so you can go by friends, you can share it with your teachers, you can share it with your siblings or someone else that you think might really be interested in coding their own music. Okay, so you can go through, we had some excellent vocabulary words such as algorithm, this was just like the line dance, right? Where this is a process or a set of rules to be carried out by a person, like in a line dance, or a computer, as in when you're coding a song. And then script, you created your own script, hopefully, and then you learned how to decode your script, which we're going to look at what that looks like in just a second. We learned how to use the hashtag, which again, our programming language was Python. So I really loved learning Python when I first came across this lesson. And so I get a little bit better each time. And what I'm noticing is that Python is used in a lot of different lessons. So not just in EarSketch, but if you go to code.org, you can learn Python. If you have some different types of robots, you can use Python coding language. So it's a really good building block for for you. So after this lesson, after this, musical flow STEM, you can say, I know a little bit about Python. All right, and then some of the other things we did were the functions, right? So the main function that we used was the fit media function, which is really what tells AirSketch what music you want to play and how you want it to play. Also the set tempo function. So it was really fun looking at the different tempos of a song. Do you like a slower tempo, like around 80, 85? Or do you like, house or techno type music where the tempo is around 115 to 125? So those were examples of different functions that we did. We also learned about entrepreneurs, right? So the song that the Your Voice is Power lesson was based on is the song Entrepreneur, which was written by Pharrell Williams and Jay-Z, right? So an entrepreneur is someone that owns their own business. It's someone that offers goods or services. We learned about a particular entrepreneur that when he first got his first computer, he learned how to create games and to help provide food for refugees in Africa. And so I'm also going to share with you today another entrepreneur that I just love because she was young, but then she started her own business, and then another entrepreneur who also is in the food industry. So I know we're talking about music, but this song Entrepreneur, I want you to really feel empowered that no matter what you want to do, that you can do that. Okay. So also in your digital notebook here, you had some examples of code that you could copy and paste into AirSketch if you needed a little help. So whenever you see this like black screen, you can click in here and highlight any of that code if you want to use it as an example and copy and paste that into it. Okay. Now, also at the beginning, I think I told you guys that this was actually started off as a competition, right? So this started off as a competition called Your Voice is Power. And they had for the first round was back in the spring. I think it opened in January and it closed in March. They had 667 students to submit. And out of those 667 students, guess what? 510 of them had never used AirSketch before. So just think, again, you don't have to be an expert. And 250 of those students, that's about a third of those students, they were first-time coders. Maybe some of you were first-time coders just coming to the REYES conference. Maybe, many of you probably were first-timers in AirSketch. So, again, you didn't have to be an expert, but now you are one of the first-time AirSketch users, or you may be one of the first-time coders as well. And so they talked about where these students came from. They represented 21 states. One territory, one province, because it was open until, even internationally. And as far as the age group for those students that submitted their song remixes, check this out. 43 students were in elementary school. 291 of those students were in middle school, and 333 of those students were in high school. So, just think about next year. I want you guys to keep an eye out because every year they do an AirSketch contest. And so around this time next year, they'll open it up again and they'll have a new theme, but you'll already know how to use AirSketch. So you'll be ready to jump in there and do your song remix and be ready to compete. Okay. So let's take a listen to some of the winners. So we've got Abby here, and she is from Illinois, Chicago, Illinois.
I'm black ambition. I'm always whispering.
I'm a black man, a black man. In this position with no choice. System in prison, young black boys. Distract with white noise. The brainwash
So
become
as you
hype
heard that
boy.
song, did you hear the different instruments And could you kind of see the code in your head, as you heard some of the strings coming in and think, oh, if it was on this track, this is what it would look like. Or maybe I would name that one, strings, or what would that variable be called? So that was one student. They were a senior. I want to get a younger student. Let's listen to a middle school student. Let's listen to Joseph's.
Black man, 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 black man.
Please stick to the track that you they don't like it. Please stick to the track that you they don't like it. Please stick to the track that you they don't like it. Please stick to the track that you they don't like it. I was told to you, the YouTubes and Hulus, shows with no views that look like you do. Black Twitter was that, what that is paid do you? For everyone, Gucci support two Fubus. Sipping quick cola, consumer and the owner. Till we all vertically integrated from the flow up. Do say power, sip it till I go up. Like gang signs said, I bang mine
So
for
what
both
did
y'all.
you notice about that song that was different from the other song? First thing that I noticed was the tempo. So that tempo seems like it might have been around like 130. I thought it was even a little faster than 120. So I probably would have put it somewhere between 125 and 130, right? So that was a middle schooler from Ontario, which is in Canada. Let's listen to another middle schooler. This is a 7th grader. Let's take a look. Let's take a listen. I wish I could see their code, but they're just allowing us to be able to listen.
Black man, 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 black man.
I'm black ambition. I'm always whispering. They keep telling me I will not, but my will won't listen. Gravity on a black man, with everything on his back end. It's family and passion. If the doors ain't cracking.
Black man, 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 black man.
So that student, again, she was in 7th grade from Toronto, Ontario. Now, what you see over here to the right where they kind of give their explanation of their song, the remix I created, and it was inspired by awareness and empathy. Where would this go in their song? Like in Ear Sketch, everything that they said here, how would they say that? Or how would they that in their script? This would be a comment. Right? So when we talked about the hashtags, they could put this, these different lines in their script. And I'm going to show you an example of a couple other students where they put their messages in the song. Remember, we talked about the comments. So I'm really interested to listen here to Paul. Paul is from Guam, right? And he's in 10th grade. And so he said the genres that he used are chaotic, which seems to match the current chaotic situation in America. So because this message was definitely about equality and equity. And so he said he's Filipino, and seeing how Asian hate is growing in the U.S., I pray to those in the mainland. Through this project, I grew more drawn to African American history, as their sufferings is very similar to Philippines suffering under American colonial rule and other colonial errors under Spain and Japan, as there are so many injustices rooted in our history, and it must be remembered. So he not only coded a song, but he embedded a message within his song. Let's take a listen.
I'm black ambition. I'm always whispering. They keep telling me I will not, but my will won't listen. Gravity on a black man, with everything on his back end. It's family and passion. If the doors ain't cracking, in this position with no choice. System in place of young black boys. It's trying to make white noise. The brainwash become white boys. Third eye dilate. You're supposed to make it off Section 8. Robbing me just to pay all. I'm bad at risk everything.
So that was part of Paul's song. I also wanted to put the link for you guys in the chat for these results so that you can maybe go back and take a listen at some of the other winners from this contest at your leisure. And then it also has, so the first top winners, right, they won like $250 gift cards and things like that. And then they had 100 students to even win as well. And so they have those listed and you can listen to some of those. So before I show you some other code, what I also want to share with you, let's go here. So this is Jessica Sanchez. When I was talking about the different entrepreneurs, and she is one of the profiles that I would like to highlight because of what she was doing based upon her culture. So this is not, around music, but it is around entrepreneurship and your goals and career exploration. So let's take a listen to Jessica's story.
Foodways, the intersection of culture, history, and tradition in food. As I traveled across the country to learn the stories behind some of the cuisines that define America, I realized something. You'll need to know my story. I always find it hard to describe myself. I'm not a host. I'm not a chef. Who I am revolves around what I love. I'm a cook. I'm an entrepreneur. And after working in economics and finance, I decided to apply that world towards my dream, Loba. Loba is a Latin and Southern comfort eatery in Miami, Florida. Loba means she-wolf in Spanish, and I chose Loba because I felt that it presented a organic but fierce kind of connotation to what I wanted to present. Some people come into this business in a very romantic way, which is me. I came into it like, I'm gonna make myself a world and it's gonna be in a 900 square foot space and everyone that's gonna come in is gonna fall in love with how it feels. When I started Loba, I didn't have a culinary background. My schooling comes from my home kitchen. My professor and chef was my mom. She was a chef and restaurant owner herself. Consider it homeschool for cooking, and it's an ongoing education. You'll find her working the line with me most nights. She's definitely gonna say, Jessica's too emotional on the project, or Jessica needs to learn more about the tougher side of the business, which is the numbers. And that would be ironic because I have a master's in finance, I graduated in economics, so I know my numbers, but I'm a little bit more poetic with them. And she's a lot more, just stern about it.
She learned a lot. I think she's ready to run in the restaurant alone without me.
Remember that part that I said, if she says that she's lying?
No, I'm not lying.
It was a scary jump into the world of Miami restaurants, where I have plenty of capital to see their vision through. I did things differently, but I also look at things differently. And yes, I was new to this world, but that meant that every day is a learning experience for me and my mom. She just turned 60 and she's still open to learning and, molding that vision of what it is to create the best dish with, the most love added to it. One thing I won't learn, my mom's recipes for her sauces. We serve them at Loba, but she's not sharing, not even with me. She carries a lot of weight at Loba in terms of she doesn't share a lot of recipes to the sauces. So if she says she bounces, I'm here's ketchup, sir, with your patacon. And 2 years in, it's happening. Loba has gained recognition and is part of an up-and-coming food scene in the Mimo and Wynwood areas of Miami. Other young businesses have taken the same leap I did, and we're turning it into something. I'm really loving the relationships that I'm building. I think in this business, it's never ending. Everything is changing, evolving. The relationships are up to you in terms of what you want to get out of them. And if you're being genuine with who you are, what you're about, and networking with people who share the same values, I think there's a lot more to it than just exchanging product for monetary, benefit.
And I think this area, specifically Wynwood, Mimo, your area, Design District, is a reflection of us wanting our own culture. Not a culture that we import from New York because it worked up there and then we import their culture down here. No, we need something that sprouts out of our soil, and I think that's what you see in these areas, specifically Wynwood for sure, and it's changing, and I think it's great.
And that's what I'm doing.
Alrighty, guys. So
Along
that
with-
was just a brief, I wanted to share with you another profile of an entrepreneur so that you could just be inspired by young entrepreneurs that are just making their way. And what I really loved about Jessica's story was that it was a family business, and so it was something that she did with her family, but she also used her education. So she went to school for economics and finance, but she went into to use her passion. Notice here how even along with the musical flow of STEM, you learn a little bit about engineering. We've learned something about music. There's even some math built in there, but then you learned about like the tempo, and then you had a digital notebook where you could write. So a lot of times you mix some of the different talents and skills that you may learn. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let me make my font a little bigger. So the first student I'm going to show you, this student did a great job of using their comments, right? So they have here at the top, they have their list of their sounds, right? Let me collapse this. So you see their sound bank. It's pretty good, right? They have a few sounds there. And remember, we learned this custom function, the DEF function. So this section here is their intro section. So they have these sounds that they've used, and over to the right where it has the hashtag, these are the different comments. So I love here how they said, on line 37, they said, this sound repeatedly says Black men since it is talking about Black entrepreneurship, and my song is meant to fight against toward racist institutions that don't accept Black-owned businesses. So that was their message, right, that they're using in the song. Here down under, let's look at line 44. It says the words "I am Black ambition" from Pharrell's song represents Black pride and being an opportunist. I chose this part also knowing that the lyrics are not only to counteract racism by being proud of their race, but lyrics showcase an entrepreneur's determination. So that was in the intro. And then the next section here, and see here for the intro, when they used this when they use that DEF function on line 48, the intro section is from measure 1 to measure 17, right? Let me click import there. We are. That's just so I can click on it. So the next part, the next section is the verse. So DEF verse, right? And so on line 52, they said this verse is powerful and it gives more tone into the song. So that's that trumpet sound. Can't wait to hear that. And then they did the chorus, and then they had an outro. So their song structure was they had an intro, they did a verse, they had a chorus, and then they had an outro, which is more like, remember when we talked about the song structure? That's a simple song structure. So they don't have a bridge, they didn't have multiple verses, so they just had like the intro and a verse and a chorus, right, and the outro. So let's take a listen. Well, first I'm going to click on run so I can see it in the DAW at the top. And then I'll play it. Let's see, it looks like it goes to around measure 33. So listen.
It's family and passion.
Grateful, grateful for this life. You turned on the light.
Black man, 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 black man.
Always whisper. I'm Black ambition. Don't go that you used to. They don't think like they used to. Don't go chasing waterfalls, please stick to the drip that you used to. They don't think like they used to.
Let go, let go. If you wanna fly, take the lead. You gotta risk it all, risk it all. But there'll be lots of things you'll never see. You gotta let go, let go. If you wanna fly, take the lead. You gotta risk it all.
Alrighty, so what I was really looking at here was if you take out line 6 here, which is track 6, see how these sounds, how they come in and then they're gone and then they come back? That's how they were using that DEF function. So this sound here, the melanin, if I look at track 6, that's this one, how they had it come in and then go back out, right? So let's take a listen to, I'm going to show you another, this student here was one of my younger students that they actually did this song. They coded this song after one of our first, maybe second lessons of using Air Sketch. And so I like it because it's a different kind of music. So let's take a listen. Also, if you notice, that student, that was an instrumental. So, you know, sometimes people say, well, do you have to have any vocals in your song? No, you do not. So that student, they did strictly instrumental in their song. Here comes another student here. Let's see. I wanted to do this one. Yeah, I really like this student actually did some of the advanced custom functions. So where they did the volume gain, and this means that it kind of the volume of the song a little bit within the song. It wasn't very long if you take a look at their script. So they have their music there. They did the set effect, which is a custom function. So, and just a few different song clips there. So let's take a listen. Sorry about that. My Air Sketch was like freaking out on me a little bit. So I'm going to refresh my screen because I was trying to pause it and it wouldn't allow me to do that. So give me one quick second. Hopefully it will remember everything that I had open. There it is. Okay, great. So this is another student here. And notice, remember when you first create your new script, under the description, you can put in a description of your song. This particular student said, you know, this script holds the code even when others bring you down. It's the favorite sounds. She only did 5 here, you know, so you don't have to think, well, it has to be very complicated, or you have to have a long use the comment feature to say this transition helps to signify that the fight for racial equity is starting to get even stronger. And then here on this line it says this shows that sometimes a voice can be in the background, but it's still loud enough to hear. And she did an intro, she had a verse, she did a chorus, and an outro. Again, a very simple song structure, but still very effective. So we'll take a listen here.
They keep telling me I will not, but my will won't listen.
Let go. If you wanna fly, take the leap. You gotta risk it all. Let go, or there'll be lots of things you'll never see. You gotta what's in store, Mr. Entrepreneur. You gotta.
That's why I am so.
Nice. So you could really tell the difference in her different sections. I loved how the intro was very distinct, right? You could tell this was the intro, and then there was a transition where you heard kind of like the verse and the chorus, and then at the end you knew that was the outro because it was instrumental and it kind of faded out. So great job there. Let's take a look here. In this student's code, if I just want to make it a little bit bigger so you can see, so they didn't use the variables, they just pasted, but you can see their tempo is 130, so that tells us it's going to be a little fast. And they had different beats here, and they didn't use the custom functions that we learned before, but that's okay. So they were still able to code their song. Let's take a listen.
Even when the hard times come, I'll be standing in your love.
Nice ending, right? And again, this was another one where it had a little bit of vocals, but for the most part, it was instrumental. And you can kind of hear a difference in the song, even the way it started versus kind of in the middle, and then that exit sound, right? So, which is this sound here is the SFX. So I really liked how they included that. Even though it was on the same track, they probably should have put that on a different track, but that's okay. It worked out. It still played, right? Because it was at a different time. So, and what I realized that it actually didn't give them an error, but probably because it started at a different time. But see here on line 22, they used track 4, but then also on line 15, they used track 4. So technically they should have been on 2 different tracks, but on the first time on line 15, they ended at measure 7, so they didn't run on top of each other. That's why it didn't give them an error. So here comes another one, and this particular student, so their description, they said, we've taken a moment to step back and look at what we've achieved and what we will. So that's their message in their song. Here's their sound bank. They did, I like how they use the different numbers. They said like VOX, you've got 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then they have all the way down. They have a lot of vocals. Okay. So this student, if I'm not mistaken, I think we're going to hear a lot of vocals versus the instrumental. So let's take a listen. And they also used the comments feature here. So I love this on line 31. They said yes for the 80s vibe and ethereal sound, right? Actually, that was my comment to them. So let's take a listen.
I'm black ambition. We always whisper. They keep telling me I will not, but my will won't listen. Gravity want a black man, where everything want is back in. It's family and passion. If the doors ain't cracking, in this position with no choice, system impressing young black boys.
Let go. If you wanna fly, take the leap. You gotta risk it all. Risk it all. There'll be lots of things you'll never see. You gotta let it space, and it's the color of your face. There will be no sunny days. Sunny days. Black went away. Let go. 'Cause you never know what's in store. Mr. Entrepreneur, you gotta
So again, with this particular student, now they did not outline their sections, but you could hear the song sections as it was playing, right? So she didn't separate and say, you know, this is the intro or the verse, because there were so many vocals, but you could also hear the outro, right? So if I was going in and I wanted to separate these different sections, I could go in and say, oh, well, I know this part is the outro, you know, and then I could use the custom function, the DEF function, to separate those. Now this next one, this is a student. Here's their sound bank. They use some different sounds that I don't think we've heard yet. And they did do their sections. So they have their intro section here from line 20 to 32, right? And take a look at, they were very specific in their ending measure, their starting and ending measure. So for whatever reason, they chose to end that particular song at, or that particular part at 1.3. Now notice this is the same sound, sharp stuff. They did it on line 28 and line 29. They could have avoided that by using a function called a loop function, which I learned. So, but at that time, they didn't learn how to use that custom function. So they just put it on a different line. Works perfectly fine. But there are other more advanced Python programming where you don't have to repeat that exact same thing. You just can use a different function to let it know you want to loop it. So, but let's take a listen. Sorry, I hope it was still there. I thought I lost my screen for a second.
Told to you through YouTubes and Hulus.
shows with no hues that look like you do. Black Twitter, what's that? When jackets paid, do you? For everyone, Gucci, support two FUBUs.
Basement to the attic with cookie show for magic is what we told the world when we said our lives matter. Turn a student to a master, hustler to a pastor.
So this student actually uploaded their own music. This is one of the ones I really wanted to highlight because this student, so this is their name, they recorded the music themselves and then they uploaded it. So remember I told you if you go under sounds and you click on add sound, you can upload your own music. So this student has their own drums and they also play the keyboard. And so here, once they uploaded it into their music library, then see here, they were able to add it. And they called it a custom function there. So they have that custom and then that sharp stuff. So those were, that was actually their music. So, you know, it's not just about what you have available to you in AirSketch, but also what you can create. Maybe you create it at home. Maybe you create it in a recording studio. Maybe you just, you know, record it on your phone, but you can still upload your own sound. And just think, those of you that, you know, learned about the recording software and everything, with the other musical flow of STEM sessions, you're able to take that music and put it into AirSketch. Okay, and then let me see here. Oh yeah, I have another one. This again is a new person. They had just learned how to use AirSketch, but I thought they did a really great job of using the variables. So let's take a listen.
That's that chocolate, that melanin. That's that chocolate, that melanin. That's that chocolate, that melanin. That's that chocolate. Cause I hustle till I pass out. Treat all my shoe boxes like the bank now. Cause I hustle till I pass out. Treat all my shoe boxes like the bank now. Cause I hustle till I pass out. Treat all my shoe boxes like the bank now. Cause I hustle till I pass out. Treat all my shoe boxes like the bank now.
That one was different than any of the other ones that we've, right? So again, and that sounded almost like really like a real song. And check out the code, how simple it was. This is her music section. That was just those lines from lines 30 to 36, 6 lines of code. And she just played 16 measures. So over about 36 seconds. So 6 lines of code to play 36 seconds of music. Great, right? So again, this just lets you know that you don't have to have, you know, super complicated code to create your own song remix. I do want to show a couple of other ones. Give me 1 sec. Students. Here we go. Here's one. So this student they do have different sections. So well, they started doing their sections, but they ended up just kind of running it together, but that's okay. So it's still great. They used a lot of different sounds. You'll notice here they chose not to use the variables. They just copied and pasted the sounds, but it's still a pretty really great song. Those that take whenever it takes a little bit longer to load into my digital audio workstation, it's because this student, 1, I haven't opened up their script before, and 2, if you notice, they have a lot of lines of code. So how many fit medias do they have? From line 15 to 33, and then again from 37 to 42. So that's quite a few lines of code. And even if you look at the measures, they went all the way to 89 measures, almost 3 minutes. So that's why it took a little bit longer. And so I'm probably not going to play the entire song, but we'll see how fast it goes. Let's take a look at the tempo. Let's see. Oh, it's 120. It'll go by fast. Sorry, I wanted to pause right here because I want you to notice how they only have 4 tracks, but there are different sounds playing. And what they did, the student was really very smart and very strategic. So in the way that they did their song. So what they did, instead of having the different lines, they just made sure that each sound ended before the next one started, even though they were different sounds on the same track. So that is a way to do it so that your script runs successfully. So, you know, when we talked about having a different sound on each track, it's also on the track, but within a certain measure so that they don't overlap. And again, it's just like when we talked about musical chairs, how more than one person can't sit in a chair. Now, that chair can be used multiple times, right? So you know how you take a chair away, but then you still have, and you have different people. So that's how this student used tracks. So I just want you to take a look here at the top. See, these are different sounds. This Y48 Bell 2, it ends at measure 13. So then the YG New Hip Hop started at 13. That's how they were able to use the same track. Alrighty, so I'm gonna pause it right there because the rest of it, what they did was they just kind of repeated. I don't think they didn't realize that they hadn't ended it yet. Actually, let me click up to this part. Let's see. Oh, they added a different sound there for the end, which is definitely like an outro. This song for sure had different sections, but they just chose to keep them within the 4 tracks. All right, let me find another student. This student was a high school student as well. I think they were in 12th grade, if I'm not mistaken. So again, if you notice, their sound bank was not that extensive. Only like 7 or 8 sounds, but they did choose here. They did have their sections. So you've got the intro, the verse, very specific with the beginning and ending measures. And they didn't really do an outro, but let's take a listen.
Black man, 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 black.
I'm black ambition. I'm always whispering.
Let go, 'cause you never know what's in store, Mr. Entrepreneur. You gotta
Gravity on a black man with everything on his back end.
Let out of here, you're welcome to go.
Don't go chasing waterfalls, please stick to the drip that you used to. They don't make like they used to.
Lies told to you through YouTubes and Hulus. Shows with no hues that look like you do. Black Twitter, what's that? When Jack is paid, do you? For everyone, Gucci support to Fubu's. Serial entrepreneur, we on our own. Stop sitting around waiting for folks to throw you a bone. If you can't buy the building, at least stock the shelf. Then keep on stacking till you stocking for yourself.
let go, 'cause you never know what's in store, Mr. Entrepreneur. You gotta.
I'm black ambition. I'm always whispering.
So that student, that sounds like, I mean, you know, we talk about how the tempo of a song, it really determines the mood of the song, and it's what kind of tells people what their mood is. That song, to me, the remix kind of sent me through a couple of different roller coasters. So, you know, you're kind of like up and down, and it seems like you're going quick and then slow. So, and then at the end, when there were no instruments, that outro was very powerful, I thought. So let's find one more. There we go. This is good. Again, this student, they decided they did not use the variables. They just pasted. So whenever they found a sound that they liked over in the sound bank, they just clicked the little clipboard to paste it over in there. They didn't make a list of their favorite sounds. Again, and that's totally fine because it worked for them, and they'll be able to listen to their song. And you'll notice that I do scroll as the song is playing because I want you to see the sounds and how they line up in the digital audio workstation.
Black is space, and it's the color of your face. There will be no sunny days. If black went away.
Black man, 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 black man.
Let go, 'cause you never know what's in store. Mr. Entrepreneur, you gotta.
Don't go chasing waterfalls, please stick to the drip that you used to. They don't like they used to. Don't go chasing waterfalls, please stick to the drip that you used to. They don't like they used to. Don't go chasing waterfalls, please stick to the drip that you used to. They don't like they used to. Don't go chasing waterfalls, please stick to the drip that you used to. They don't like they used to. Don't go chasing waterfalls, please stick to the drip that you used to. They don't like they used to.
Nice, right? So that was the final student submission that I did want to share with you guys. Everything that you heard today was created by students. Some of them are in middle school, some of them were in high school. I again just want to encourage you to keep coding, to keep creating. AirSketch is always, it's free, it's available to you. You can still always go back and just learn more, create new scripts, practice more, you know, share with your friends, see who can create a song, see what you can recreate when you hear your favorite song. It doesn't always have to have anything to do with the song Entrepreneur. It's just what we use to introduce you to it this week, excuse me, or during this conference. So I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. I really enjoyed showing you how to use Ear Sketch and showing you that you definitely have the power to share your message with the world through coding and through making your own beats and through music.
Thank you, Brandy. So I hope all of you have enjoyed the musical flow of STEM, which was presented by Brooks Crossing Innovation Lab. We definitely enjoyed putting all of the sessions on. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Farrell, who will close us out.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Joe. And thank you very much, Ms. Wright, for a wonderful week and an extra day with us. And I hope you all learned a lot, and I hope you got the links out of the chat. If you have any other questions or anything comes up, don't forget to feel free to contact us back on the Reyes homepage. And of course, you can always visit YouTube's the YouTube page for Reyes and rewatch any of the other sessions as you're working on it on your own. I thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.